Want to play I tried today, but no.
Call the meeting to order. Madison Peretti will be leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll all stand, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3, revision and approval of regular and consent agenda. Are there any changes or revisions to the regular or consent agendas?
I move to approve the regular and consent agendas. Second.
We made the motion to approve the regular and consent agendas. Wade seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. Five, recognitions and information. So we have some new hires that we would like to welcome aboard. Are they here?
I don't believe they are here.
Okay. Then we'll move to my favorite part, students of the month. So our first one is from Central Elementary, Cecilia Becker.
Good evening, this is Cecilia, and her family is here with us tonight, and so is Mrs. York, who is her first grade teacher, and so we nominated her, and so Mrs. York says this about Cecilia. She is our representative for Central Student of the Month. Although we've only been in school for a few weeks, Cecilia is the epitome of a model student. She demonstrates critical thinking skills that show her love for learning and knowledge. She is helpful in the classroom and has a heart to help others. These skills are the building block for Cecilia becoming a successful lifelong learner. Cecilia is a perfect example for other students in showing good leadership and citizenship. And Mrs. York looks forward to watching her grow as student of the year, hopefully, right? So.
And Fillmore Elementary, Madison Peretti.
All right, this is our Fillmore Elementary Student of the Month, Madison Peretti, and as you can see, she has a beautiful smile, so each day I get to see her sweet smile in the hallways, and Mrs. McCamick has nominated her, so Mrs. McCamick is going to read her nomination for Madison.
Dr. Smith in the South Putnam School, it is honestly my pleasure to introduce you to Madison Peretti. She is a 5th grader at Fillmore Elementary. She is our September Student of the Month. Madison is the daughter of Heather Peretti and Robert Peretti, and she has a younger sister at Fillmore named Kay, and also maybe a soon-to-be in a few years younger brother Wyatt. Madison is hardworking, respectful, and sincere in her positive attitudes towards her learning. She has an engaging relationship with her peers and the rest of us teachers. Madison takes her time with her learning, and she is courageous in asking questions when she needs help. She is very creative, and she really loves to draw. Madison's upbeat and charming personality adds brightness to our school days. She has a good sense of humor and playfulness that are fun to see. She is loyal. She is a loyal friend and treats her peers and teachers with respect and kindness. She is trustworthy, She is confident and sincere individual who is well liked by everyone. For all of these reasons, I believe that Madison here deserves this honor for her actions and her attitudes and her accomplishments. So this is Madison. Thank you.
From middle school, we have Wyatt Fox.
Oh my God.
This is Wyatt Fox, and he was nominated by Mrs. Bai, who's his middle school teacher. And so Wyatt Fox is the student of the month for August. Wyatt is a thoughtful student, and he does his work extremely well. Wyatt shows his ability to think critically in his work and ready to demonstrate that with teachers and peers. Wyatt can be reserved in class, but has demonstrated growth and courage this year. When asked to talk about himself while talking about his llamas, family, and football, he's happy. What a great student and a wonderful Eagle. We are excited to see him soar. Congratulations, Wyatt.
And for high school, we have Ethan Rooksbury.
And Ethan's not able to be here, but I'm going to read the recommendation that was sent for Ethan, which is from Mrs. McKee. The high school student of the month is Ethan Rooksbury. He was nominated by Mrs. McKee, and she said the following: I would like to nominate Ethan Rooksbury as student of the month. When I look at our corporation vision of an Eagle to be creative, critical thinkers who exemplify courage, confidence, and virtue, the first student I thought of was Ethan. Ethan has been very courageous this semester. He took a chance and enrolled in my AP Environmental Science class as a sophomore who had not taken any AP classes before. For most students, those initial AP classes can be scary and daunting. But Ethan is interested in the content, and he did not let that stop him from taking a class that he knew would benefit him in the long run. In class, he's quick to participate. He always thinks about his answers and ties what we're doing in class to the agricultural background that he is comfortable with. He works with students around him to help them be their best and understands the material that is presented at a college level. Finally, Ethan has shown creativity. In class, we did a week of studying biomes, and we ended with a day of a biome speed dating, and I encouraged the students to dress as their biomes. And Ethan was a tundra, and he did a great job representing. So congratulations to him.
I'd like to thank all the parents and the teachers and the families, kids, for your time here and taking time out of your day to come to show us how wonderful everything is in the Eagle world. Since it is a school night, you may all be dismissed at this point in time if you choose to. Go.
He wants a hug.
Okay, 5B, financial update.
Now, in your packets, you received the latest financial reports, which also include the cash flows and the fund reports. As reflected in those reports, we continue to track positively as forecasted on our income, our expenses, and our cash balances. So far, so good.
Legislative update.
So legislatively, this is a time of year where everyone's kind of scrambling, trying to figure out how to implement all the new things that went into place, right? For example, just today, I went to I didn't go. I attended a virtual webinar for basically regarding House Enrolled Act 1447. Passed by General Assembly. It's now Public Law 234. Goes into effect January 1st, 2024. And this defines requirements for schools to implement procedures to catalog books from the library that must be posted on the website. Hard copies must be available upon request, must have procedure to allow request of materials to be removed, and it kind of defines those things. The procedure must also be published on the website. So there's a lot to take in, right? So the webinar was about that and how to manage that, and I basically did some things like define what is the library, what is considered a library, in which One view is, does it include books in the classroom or not? And they kind of defined some of that. And they asked, the question was, what is obscene, right? How do you define that? And has some criteria, and basically it talks about literary value, political value, and scientific value, and how to evaluate those things, right? We talk about what is harmful to minors, who can challenge these books, the best practice versus minimum requirements, suggestions for writing policy to prevent wasted resources, like, if it's challenged once, you might want to put it in your policy that, that challenge is good for 5 years. Like, so if it's decided that the book is good, we don't want people challenging every week and just wasting school resources. So we have some flexibility to write that into our policies. About the webinar itself, it was great. There was way more content than I thought verbally. There's some slides that are available, and we can have access to those since I registered. I think Lisa registered too, but she wasn't able to make it. So we'll both have access to that, and we can share with everyone. Also, there were suggestions for writing very specific pieces of the policy. They said that they would be putting on some mock book challenge seminars to kind of like simulate that, and there would be 2 in October, 1 in November. I can get that information for everyone if you want it. And that should be also open to administrators. And then also, they recommend that school boards, administrators, superintendents all start familiarizing ourselves with current policies and ensure that others within the organization are also familiarizing themselves with those policies as well. And so that was one of their takeaways for action items for everyone.
So how do they define library?
So it is basically the books that are paid for by the funds that would basically be. So, for example, all these books have to probably go through some process just to be purchased, right?
Right.
So anything that would go through that normal process would be your library. Now, if there was a book in the classroom that a teacher assigned, that may not be, unless it came from the library, it may not be purchased through the library system. So it kind of goes in, it kind of depends what our policies are, how those are defined. So there's a lot of content there, basically. There's a lot of information that you have to kind of decipher to figure out. It depends on we have some flexibility to write those.
So, and the policy, though, the new law only, it's only for books in the school library, or let's say in the school that have been purchased with public. Correct.
For the purpose of the library. So, for example, one of the questions was with classroom books that may have an assignment for a specific class, would that be considered a library book? And it wouldn't. That is correct.
So then it doesn't come under the
Correct.
parent
That is one interpretation. That all goes back to the resources there. There's a whole list of resources that we have access to. There's legal team. This was hosted by the ISBA and the Indiana Library. They were the presenters, and most of those individuals were actually all three of the 4, I think, were librarians. The other one was an attorney. So there's a lot of good advice and Q&A, and so there's no cut and dry answers to a lot of it. It's a law and has to be interpreted, and also it kind of ties into our policy.
Right. So I know the administrators worked on it some over the summer. Do you feel comfortable that we have, or does it still need some tweaking, or is there anything?
Based on the initial interpretation, yeah, sorry to cut you off, but based on the initial interpretation, we're set to go based on the initial laws. The policy is, you have to let the attorneys still got to get a hold of it, and then it will go through through the regular policy approval process. But they're still ironing that out as he's seeing
Right.
results.
Yeah.
Okay. And the interesting thing is, one of the things I pulled from this was it's kind of difficult because we have procedures that are in place to purchase books in the first place.
Right.
If we've done that correctly, there shouldn't be many people contesting. And there's been
Right.
abilities to contest this in other states and that sort of thing, and books don't get contested very often. Because on occasion there might need to
Right.
be some reason to do that. And in a lot of cases when they are contested, literary value, political value, scientific value.
Joe, I have read some conflicting things, and also it's been kind of a gray area for teachers that actually have classroom libraries, and they have to take some certain steps as a classroom teacher to, say, in the middle of the year, add books to their classroom. Did they happen to mention anything along those lines? Because that seems to be kind of gray area from what I've read.
So there was some Q&A in that, right? And actually, that's part of the webinar. Will be a recorded version that I can share with you. But there's more to it that you can ask questions and those sorts of things, and they give some recommendations on how to. One of the bullet points that I pulled out was, what about relocating or moving material, let's say from a library to a classroom? So you have to.
Right.
Some things you want to consider before doing that. Let's say something you think, well, this may not be appropriate here, but it'll be good for, like, senior, literature class or something. You have to think about how that book was funded and where it came from and what procedures it went through. There are a lot more questions than answers, I think, but they touched on a lot of topics. It kind of depends on our procedures. There's more guidance for how to write some of that.
I feel like since we first heard about it in the spring regional meeting and today's webinar, that there's been progress made as far as cleaning up some of the messy stuff of
It
it.
doesn't feel as messy, I think, as I originally thought it might be.
Good to know.
That's all I have.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Public comment, do we have any? Item 7, new business. A, first reading of corporation policy updates.
Speaking of policy, from time to time, I bring you updates to the Neola Corporation policies. Tonight just happens to be one of those nights, and I've been working with Dr. Halleck from Neola. We've identified the policies that you find in your packets for first reading for this evening. We will revisit these policies in October at our regular board meeting for our second reading and final board approval prior to publishing on the website. So no formal actions required tonight. It's just a notification that those are there, and they're in your packets for review.
Do you happen to remember the total number? I've been scrolling through and it keeps changing the order, and I want to make
sure. We put a lot of work into policy this summer. There were 123 new policies that are presented in this first reading.
Okay. Thank you. I'm just saying, when I'm going through them, and I think if we have however your system to go through them, there are a lot of them that I have questions on. So if you have those, if you just call Dr. Smith and ask the questions, then there have been some in the past that there's, maybe an option that I think might be better. So if you'll figure out which ones those are, and then for our next meeting, I'll have Aaron copy those off for each of us so that we have them in front of us to look at before we vote. Does that sound doable? Okay, great, good. Okay, have fun with that. And under new business, B, consideration of administrator contracts.
The contracts you found in your board packets, they're just the official contracts for this, for your signatures for our newest administrators, and so it's just the formality of signing their contract. I'm just having you approve those contracts. You've already approved everything that goes behind that. This is just a formal document. So I'm just seeking approval tonight of those contracts so we can get those wrapped up.
I move to approve the administrator contracts.
Any discussion or questions? We're good. Okay. Joe made the motion to approve the administrator contracts. Lee seconded. All those in favor? C, consideration of overnight field trips.
Again, speaking of policy, as per our field trip policy, overnight or out-of-state field trips require school board approval. So in your packets, there were 2 FFA overnight field trip requests that Mrs. Gardner and myself have already signed and approved. We just seek your approval for these FFA experiences for our students.
Move to approve the 2 overnight field trip requests.
Second.
Joe made the motion to approve the 2 overnight field trip requests. Wade seconded. All those in favor? Item D, consideration of educator evaluation plan.
Every year, we are required to submit our education evaluation plans to the Indiana Department of Education. Tonight, I'm just seeking your approval of the education evaluation plan that were in your packets, which have previously been reviewed with the building principals and discussed with the South Putnam Classroom Teachers Association.
Move to approve the educator evaluation plan.
Second.
Questions or discussion on that? All right. Wade made the motion to approve the educator evaluation plan. Joe seconded it. All those in favor? Motion carries. E, review of bus routes and safety policies.
There's no action for you to take tonight, but we have our transportation director, Mr. Osborne, here to present bus routes and safety policies kind of overview for us today.
Good morning, everyone. Indiana Code 20-27-10-0.5 states that on or before September 1st, 2019, each September 1st thereafter, each school corporation, charter school, and accredited non-public school that provides transportation for students must review the school's school bus routes and school bus safety policies to improve the safety of students and adults. And prior to September 1st of this school year, I did just that to do the annual review, and all routes are safe and for students and adults. And if there's any questions, I can take those.
We got all our bus drivers, right?
We do,
Okay.
just enough. I'm the sub most of the time, which does come in handy when I'm reviewing the safe
Yeah.
policies and routes. So when I'm seeing it firsthand, if there's something that comes up, then I can address it. But yep, we got, again, good group of drivers, very dependable. Just need off when they need off and get it covered. But yeah, there's been some challenges, but it's been a good start.
I had someone ask me if we had thought about, school zone in the area, any extra like yellow lights, caution lights, or anything like that. Has that been kicked around in the past?
Actually, today, Dr. Smith and I and Mr. Scott visited with some other county highway and the planner for the city and NDOT and the engineers, the engineering firm that the county is looking at for a safety plan. They included us so that we could speak to different areas in the county where we might see concerns with traffic flow and things like that. So one of the things that we've run into a lot, and it seems to have increased maybe with driver distraction or other things, are stop arm violations. And so we do have signage. For instance, Mount Meridian and Putnamville are areas that we get several stop arm violations because there's no median, so all lanes have to stop. There is signage there already. 231 is another place, and I have signage that I've added over the years that I've been here for, it says watch for school bus or school bus stop ahead. Most recently, I added one for a stop west on 40 where it's kind of approaching a hill, and then east on County Home Road. And so the county has been good when I've asked them to get those signs put in place. The ones that are on 40 go through NDOT, but they've also been really good when I've sent requests to them. So I feel like we get a good response, and I feel like the meeting that we had today, there's a follow-up meeting then to be scheduled in the future. So they're really interested in the county of hearing our input where we see issues. So I feel like there's a lot of good things That'll just continue to help us keep students safe and keep those policies updated.
Dr. Smith, I know you're ultimately responsible for the campus and transportation in and out of the campus, not only by buses, but by students driving their own vehicles, parents dropping off kids. How does any of that tie into, the safety policies portion? Is this I know the bus routes are the bus routes and the safety policies around the bus really well defined, but when do we address annually those other things in the main campus, flow of general traffic and traffic out on 231 and 40?
And we do a review in the summertime. I go through and check those things and kind of review policies, and then as we have some projects that are going on and parking lot type things, engineers help with that traffic flow as well. So we try to get the professional input as much as we possibly can on those things. And then the county.
Do we have like a log of accidents that happen around the area or anything like that? Or?
We actually received a lot of information on that today for the entire county on where those are and where those hotspots are.
That's very interesting information. Need to see how much they drill down, as far as weather, whether it's day or night, whether it's distracted driving or an animal crossing the road or just driver error and things like that.
Okay, the hearing on the 2024 budget, capital and bus replacement plans is next.
Yeah, so we're going to have a couple back-to-back hearings here. The first one is required in part of the budget process every year. We're required to conduct a hearing of that budget. The budget information that is in this hearing has properly been advertised and posted on our website. I reviewed it at our last meeting as well. So this is just a hearing to allow for public comment on that published and advertised budget.
Okay, so we have to have a motion to open the hearing, but we don't close this one first, right?
So we'll open it, allow for public comment, and then close it.
Okay, within the regular business. Okay, all right. So I need a motion to open the hearing on the 2024 budget capital and bus replacement plan.
I move to open the hearing on the 24 budget capital and bus improvement plan.
Okay, Holly made the motion to approve the hearing on the 2024 budget capital and bus replacement plans. Joe seconded it. All those in favor? Okay. Public comment? Any? No public comment. Okay. Now I will take a motion to close the hearing on the 2024 budget capital and bus replacement plans.
I move to close the hearing on the 24 budget capital and bus replacement plan.
I'll second.
Holly made the motion to close the hearing on the 2024 budget capital and bus replacement plans. Joe seconded it. All those in favor? Okay. G, collective bargaining hearing.
Yeah. So as part of the collective bargaining process, which we will begin shortly, we must hold a joint hearing with the South Putnam Classroom Teacher Association to provide an opportunity for public comment. Therefore, this evening, we're joined by Joe McCamick, who is the president of the South Putnam Classroom Teacher Association, for this hearing. So we will just need the board to open the collective bargaining hearing to receive public comment.
So now I'll take a motion to open the collective bargaining hearing.
I move to open the collective bargain hearing. I second.
Wade made the motion to open the collective bargaining hearing. Lee seconded it. All those in favor? Any public comment?
Just looking forward to having a good session and working with everyone involved in it. We appreciate you working with us all. So thank you.
Okay. I'll take a motion to close the collective bargaining hearing.
I move to close the collective bargaining. Second.
Lee made the motion to close the collective bargaining hearing. Wade seconded it. All those in favor? Thank you. Business, no other. There is no other business. Superintendent's report. Dr. Smith.
We are now 5 weeks into the school year. We've had a great start, and we continue to get better every day, and we're kind of getting into the groove now. It's that time of year. Been to several meetings a day, and that just seems to be where we are. Things are going well. We're closer to finalizing the current projects, and look forward to the day that they are done. We're stepping through that and working diligently to get that done. We'll continue to work with our contractors to proactively address some of these last remaining details. So we'll get there. Next, I'm super proud of our students and the teachers and the administrators and all the supporting departments and staff. They're all working together really well. Students are doing well. Staff's doing well to make sure that we just continue to make South Putnam the amazing place that it is. So it's just neat to see things come together and gelling. Other than that, I'm just going to keep this short tonight. Just know today, another great day.
All right. If there is nothing else, we will adjourn. Okay. Meeting's adjourned.